Hi, I'm Jack Howell. This video is for my nephew Robbie, who's learning to play the clarinet. But if you're learning to play the clarinet too, you're welcome to follow along. You'll just have to get used to me calling you Robbie. So, okay Robbie, time to make some sound. We're going to work out of this book, Clarinet for Beginners by Avrahm Galper. I think Mr. Galper's approach to teaching the instrument is very logical, and it has produced some of the very best players in the world. This book offers good advice throughout, including an introduction that you should read thoroughly. There's also a very good fingering chart. One thing that is different about Mr. Galper's approach with beginners is that he keeps us in the low register longer than most methods. And he delays introducing articulation, putting emphasis early on playing legato or slurred phrases. You may be impatient to learn all the notes, and you may be given music in school that's more complicated than what's in this book. But if you do these exercises carefully, future Robbie will thank you. And don't worry, the book actually progresses very rapidly. I know you can already play. I heard your Frere Jacques, that was great. I'm going to start from the beginning though, because you may have skipped something or you may want to refer back to this at some point. To make a sound on the clarinet, you need air and you need an embouchure. Air is the most important part. You need lots of energy in your air. And you'll get the best tone if you breathe deeply, if you breathe from your tummy. It will feel relaxed, like a heavy sigh. Now, obviously, if our lips don't seal around the mouthpiece, all that air just goes everywhere. So that's the first job of the embouchure, is to seal the air around the mouthpiece. Embouchure is a French word that means the way in which a player applies his or her mouth to the mouthpiece of a brass or wind instrument. I think Mr. Galper's instructions in the introduction are good, but I have a suggestion. I suggest that you not put too much emphasis on the part where he says to smile. I'm not saying not to smile, I'm saying not to try and do it too much. If you put your teeth on the reed and blow, it doesn't sound or feel very good. So your lower lip must go between the reed and your lower teeth. You pull your lower lip back over your teeth just enough so that when you play, the pink part disappears. And with the embouchure, the muscles around your mouth work together to make your lower lip into a cushion for the vibrating reed. It shouldn't be too thick, it shouldn't be too thin. If your embouchure is too round, you can wind up with a bunched up lower lip that is too thick and keeps the reed from vibrating. If your embouchure is too smiley, you can wind up with a lower lip that's too thin, which makes the sound too thin. The most important part is that you control the reed with your embouchure, with the muscles around your mouth, and not bite with your jaw. So we have air, we have embouchure, now it's time to make a tone. Mr. Galper says that to begin with your tongue lightly on the reed and withdraw it as you blow. We have to be very careful here. This is the point where beginners can form some bad habits. So let's think for a minute. Can you make a tone on the clarinet with your tongue but no air? No. Can you make a tone with air but no tongue? Yes. So the air is the most important part. What can happen is that players don't use enough air to start the tone by itself, so that they don't start with enough air so that the air by itself can start the tone. So they either leave the tongue on the reed until enough air pressure builds up, or they bite down on the reed to keep it from vibrating until enough air builds up. So you just heard it. That's where squeaks come from biting the reed. And a heavy tongue on the reed is where a bad start to the note comes from. You heard that too. They both happen because there's not enough air. So whenever you begin a tone, really feel the air starting it, not a bite or a pinch or a heavy tongue. Begin the tone with energy, not resistance. Now, if we had to choose, a heavy tongue is an easier problem for future Robbie to fix than a biting habit. So do what Mr. Galper says, just be careful. So here we are in the book. We're on page 4 with the first exercises. Mr. Galper shows fingerings for G, F, just the thumb, E, add the first finger, D, add the middle finger, C, add the ring finger. Now I know you already know these notes because you played them in Frere Jacques, but you'll also remember our hand position drill. So make sure that as we work on the left hand, the right hand doesn't take a vacation. If you find your right hand position wandering, just grab the clarinet down here. Okay? It's better not to have a right hand position at all while you're concentrating on the left hand than to learn a hand position that you'll have to fix later. This whole page 4 is in 4/4 time, which means that there are 4 beats per bar. It's not a bad idea to use a metronome at least some of the time so that you get a feeling for how long a bar is. We don't want to think in beats, we want to think in phrases. So using a metronome keeps the phrases steady and the right length. Here we go. As Mr. Galper says, don't stop the note with your tongue. Play these as slowly as you can, making a good tone throughout. You can start on either the G or the E or the C, whichever is most comfortable for you. I'm going to start with the ones that start on G. Exercise 1. You may have to play those a little faster for now, but as you learn to play longer phrases, you can slow them down. I ask that you resist the urge to race ahead and play as far ahead in this book as you can, at least for right now. Play the exercises on this first page many times, always making your tone steadier, making your attacks and releases cleaner, and your phrases longer. Friedrich Schiller, the poet who wrote the words to Beethoven's Ode to Joy, wrote, "Only those who have the patience to do simple things perfectly will acquire the skill to do difficult things easily." The last exercise on page 4, it's not an exercise, it's the first tune. It'll sound like this. Now, if you need to take pauses in between and breathe, that's actually too many breaths for me. but that's the first page. Now, I thought I would add a little treat. You know Frere Jacques. I'm going to play Frere Jacques so we can play together. You know how it goes. You know how a round works. I'm going to play it 4 times. Now I'm going to change it just a little bit so that we only use what Mr. Galper showed us. Okay, we'll see how this goes. 1, 2, here we Okay. There we go. Sorry, I jumped in. I hope that was fun. You may have to take more breaths, and that's okay. But I think that's a good start, and I'll make another one of these in a few days. Go get them.